What a week, Dynamo Nation. We're going to recap Week 10 right now. Dynamo Nation, what's going on? This is James. We're just talking about Week 10 reactions. And only thing I can say is A.J. Dillon. I've been hyping him up since I started this channel a couple weeks back. I've been hyping up A.J. Dillon. He's been in my deep running back sleepers the last 2 weeks. I said this past week, if he was outside the top 36 of starts at running back, I was going to keep championing his cause. Well, I can safely say he's not going to be in the top 36 this week, or outside the top 36. Aaron Jones went down, who was another one of my sell candidates. If you watch the, our Dynasty video, our running back sell candidates, we have to get in front of these things, and Aaron Jones is definitely on that list. So all I can really say is, with Week 10, what we've seen is running back position is the most injury-prone, fluid position in fantasy, especially Dynasty. There's a lot of analysts out there that are going to tell you in your rookie drafts, if you're starting from a rebuild, you got to target like Najee Harris. You have to target that top end RB first. It has to be. If you're sitting at one, you got to go there. And I'm here. This week proved that that's absolutely wrong. And not just this week, this season. That's the wrong advice to be putting out there. And anyone who's doing that, if they were in my league, they're getting mollywopped. Period. You're not going to come into my league and play like that, especially with me, because I'm not going to sit back and just sit here and slow roll it. So if you're going to go after these running backs, this is what you're up against. You're facing these injuries, and it happens all the time. This week right here, in particular, and when you see Jones go down, and then Henry goes down earlier, Chubb's missed some time, Kareem Hunt's been hurt, Saquon's been hurt. I mean, the list goes on. McCaffrey's been hurt. The list goes on. And what we've seen is you have to have handcuffs on your roster. Like, no two ways around it. Especially in a deep league. If you're in a deep league, 35, 40 man rosters, 10 to 15% of your roster allotment needs to be towards handcuff running backs. Every single season. You can typically get these guys for free in the offseason. They're just sitting on waivers because teams have to cut their rosters down. They want to configure stuff out. Oh, this guy's an RB2. He's an RB3 at that point in time. Didn't do anything. I'm going to cut him. But if you would have taken the mindset, like my mindset this year, of the Damian Williams, the Darrell Williams, I had Khalil Herbert, I had Devontae Booker. I mean, when you have these guys, and I dedicated, if you would see my running back situation in the beginning of the season and the amount of bums, duds, whatever you want to call it, that were sitting on my roster at running back, it was astounding. Like, absolutely astounding. Matter of fact, right here, I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. You can see, and you see I'm not lying, my running back situation was atrocious on paper. But a lot of these players have had the opportunity to play this year based on injuries at the position. So when that happens, you're getting these starters for 2, 3, 4 week stretches for free if you're doing your homework in the offseason. And yeah, they might not run a full year for you, but if you got 3 or 4 of them, and 3 or 4 of them are able to string together 3, 4 starts, 2, 3 starts, whatever it might be, and you multiply that by 4, I mean, you get 8 to 12 starts out of just free running backs. And most of the time they produce. The thing is, we see, especially this late into the season, these teams' offense is already kind of set in stone. Their game plan. So, Dearness Johnson, he just got 19 carries. The Browns got rocked, and he still got 19 carries. He got demolished. Darrell Williams, what did he just do? He just caught 9 passes. I mean, he just blew up. So, look at these teams. They have all these injuries. They're investing. The Giants, for whatever train wreck they've been for a while, they had the foresight to say, you know what? Saquon has been injury prone. We're going to go give Devontae Booker some real money to be our backup running back. And they paid him. They paid him well for a backup. And he's had to step in and play multiple games this year because Barkley's been hurt. So take what the league is doing. They're going to 2 RBs, most teams. I've been harping on selling Aaron Jones in Dynasty, that his value is on the decline. The Packers used a 2nd-round pick on Dillon. And they still gave Jones a big contract, but they still had used a 2nd-round pick on Dillon. These teams are going to 2 RB sets. There's very few workhorse backs in the league. So, even DeAndre Swift got 36 touches, whatever it was this week, some ungodly number, 33 carries, and they still mixed in other RBs with Jamal Williams out. That just goes to show you, teams are not just sticking to one running back. It's just not going to happen for this exact reason. Injuries are just too prevalent at the position. So that's my biggest takeaway from week 10 is do not fade that position in terms of handcuffs. But running backs on offense for your dynasty teams, they need to be the last thing that you build. Go back and watch the videos about how to build your dynasty team, targeting wide receivers. Wide receivers should be the first thing that you are going out and drafting and trading for. And this week just kind of confirmed that for me. And again, it's not just this week, it's the whole season, but that's been my biggest takeaway from week 10 is the running back situation in the league. There was just so many guys this week that were not even thought of beginning of the season that had great weeks. And it's been happening all season long. So that's the big takeaway for me. Cam Newton's back. Cam's been a solid fantasy quarterback, in real life. Not so much last year, but before that, he was at least serviceable. Comes in quick, 2 touchdowns. He's getting all the first team reps this week, so he's probably going to be starting. That's very good news for, I think, DJ Moore in particular, who has been hot garbage juice for about 5 weeks now. I don't think it's his fault. When you're trotting out Sam Darnold and PJ Walker, I'll pull Uncle Rico back up for you guys because that's what it's looking like.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains? Yeah.
It's not looking good. I'm guessing you or myself can get out there and throw the damn ball like Sam Darnold's been doing and tossing interceptions left and right. So Cam's got to be better than what he's been seeing. Hopefully, DJ Moore starts to produce again. You guys remember he was on a rip the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. It looked like he had turned the corner, and we were getting ready to see him just completely break out. So hopefully he gets back to that. And inconsistency. Last week I talked about our young players, having bad weeks, and that's what happens with young players. They're gonna have their ups and downs. But it's really the inconsistency from week to week. And we're seeing it in the NFL, and it's translating over to fantasy. You have the Browns blew the Bengals out last week. And then they got mollywopped. It was bad. They got destroyed this past week. So many teams, Denver played great last week, they got spanked. So it just happens week to week. So many teams are inconsistent, and that translates into us as fantasy managers, dynasty managers, and we have to be able to roll with it. So, again, if you had some young players not produce, don't panic. Devontae Smith had a great week as a rookie. I think he's really starting to come along. Kyle Pitts still has been up and down, but he's still that number 1 lead target. Week 10, running backs, don't be sold on them. Should be the last things you build. If anyone's telling you to build your dynasty team around running backs in the beginning, I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just saying they're the last things to get. If someone tells you to start your rebuild by drafting a bunch of running backs, they're giving you the wrong information. Get your receivers, get your tight end, lock down that quarterback, and then build your running backs from there. Let everybody season, let everybody get developed. Because those running backs, as rookies, most of the time, if they're your stud running backs as rookies, they're going to play immediately, and they're going to produce well. And that's what you want. You don't want them to be 3 or 4 or 5 years into their career by the time you get the rest of those positions figured out. That's not going to do you any good, because guess what's going to happen? You might have another year or 2 of running back play, and then you got to do the thing all over again. That's not what we're trying to do. maybe in those leagues where teams are building for a year or two, you know our motto, we don't do it for a year, we're doing it for a decade. So that's the first takeaway is the running back situation. 2, Cam, let's see what happens. He came in 2 touchdowns. Hopefully that lifts that entire offense, especially DJ Moore. And then 3, inconsistency. And we're going to be dealing with it week to week, unfortunately. So make the best of it. Don't give up. Don't freak out. Do not panic. If your team's struggling right now, hey, it's the end of week 10. If you've still got 5 wins, maybe even 4 wins, you're not out of it. You know, hopefully that's why you're still here watching. And stick with me. Check out the other content. You know, the waiver wire pickups, IDP, running back, all like receiver, all of it. We'll be covering it all. Try to get you guys back on the right track. All right. If you guys enjoy the content, please consider subscribing. I'd appreciate it. Dynamo Nation would as well. And everyone have a great week and stay safe. See you.